Move 11. Move 11. How are you today? All right. We had a guy from. Let me see how this board looks a little bit weird now. Let me move this. We had a game. New window. Which window is it now? Let's see. Overlay. Window. Why does that look like the wrong window? Okay, it is the wrong window. Window on the wall. Window on the wall. Which window are you? Yeah? Oh, this doesn't line up. This doesn't line up great. I hate that, but what can I do? Maybe make the board bigger. It's already really big. It's already really big. All right, that's good enough. Anyway, move 11. 11. 11,000 Hungarian forints. Beal. So move 11. I will answer your personal questions later. But do expect me to answer. So what else is new? I missed my stream yesterday, but Ponda got to play in our Ponda tournament in my place. I had a last minute airport pickup I had to do, so I could just play on my phone. Ponda. So I haven't been live since Sunday, and I had like a really horrible long poker session Tuesday. So yesterday I was kind of tired anyway. But Ponda did a good job. He got 5 out of 6. He lost one game to Redusa. You shouldn't have traded Queens Ponda. Ponda is like a heavyweight boxer. He's like 27-1. No, he's like 30. He's like 29-1 now, or something like that in his games. Unfortunately, he lost to Redusa, trading queens in a position where he shouldn't have traded queens. It's amazing how quickly your position falls apart in chess in just a move or two. But move 11, good to see you. You got a watch streak reached. Move 11 is currently on a 3-stream streak. Wow. Wow. After 108 months, you made a 3-week streak. 60 power up. Yes, Will, this is your Discord. What do you think? Chesser 5C crushing. That was 4 days ago. I'm sorry. I'm reading a notification from 4 days ago. I thought it was just now. All right, this is an old notification which I didn't notice on Sunday. There was a somehow from my Discord. Raving lunatics in poker Tuesday night. See, here's the problem with chess and poker, and like there are different styles of play. You can be like Petrosian, you can be like Tal, but sometimes people are maniacs. They're like complete maniacs, and they don't know that they're maniacs. They think that the way they play is normal. I gotta fix my text here. Move 11. Did you know you're a maniac? It's not like they necessarily want to be maniacs. I recommend a balanced fundamental style in whatever game you're playing. You should start with a very sort of fundamental balanced style, and then you can become more defensive, more aggressive, more wild, as you get more advanced, or modify your style as you become more advanced. But I think adhering to the fundamentals is the important thing in the beginning, whatever game you're playing. All right, so this is analysis stream. I have my coffee. It doesn't seem to have any effect. I mean, maybe I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't feel more awake from the coffee, but maybe it just makes me talk more or something. I don't feel better. So, guys, we're saving for the World Senior. Move 11. To answer your one question, I honestly don't think the fact that the World Open is in Philadelphia or Washington D.C. should make a whole lot of difference. I mean, you're basically in this like hotel, insulated from the rest of the city, so it honestly shouldn't really matter. Um, if you want to play, then play. It doesn't matter, like which place it is. Okay, now we've got any additional viewers who want to submit games who are subscribers. You have to be a subscriber. God damn it. You have to be a subscriber. We've got only one subscriber game submission so far. Probably like largely because I omitted yesterday's stream. People like forget Move 11 submitting a game, okay? An old Simul game. All right, whatever. Oh wow, it's not your game. How do you come up with this game? Submit other people's Simul games. Been doing your research. All right, let's see. Learn, study. You're welcome to submit any game you would like. Add a new chapter. I'm just hoping to feel more awake at some point. I haven't been the same since before poker on Tuesday night. I played from 2 p.m. until 4 in the morning, which is what? No. Yeah, that's 14 hours. Still haven't recovered. My sleep schedule's weird. All right, so we got a game from Song Prism, a game from Move 11 that was actually not played by him, but instead Mr. Sohan versus me. There's a really nice game I put in the study that I covered for something else recently. I'd like to share with everybody. Maybe I should pick up a transparent chest bag so as there are no questions. They have those? Is that a real thing? Metal detector, anyone? For a while there was that fashion trend where women had like translucent or see-through, whatever, transparent purses. It's kind of weird. A few years ago. All right, man. You worry about weird stuff. Chess is my bag. Focus on the chess, not your bag. Focus on the chess, not the place where it is. Focus on the chess. The chess. Focus on the reflecting pool. That's the important thing. Gypsy 9999. You're surprised nobody's selling chess beads. Bro, you just probably spawned a great idea. Yeah, I'm surprised. Yeah. But it depends what kind of beads we're talking about, obviously. Well, I've been playing chess for 40 plus years, and only once I've suspected an opponent of cheating, and that was this fall. But actually, to be honest, on Tuesday night, I thought the three of the players on my poker table were cheating, and the chances are I was wrong. I thought that there were three players colluding together, and it turns out like two of them were definitely friends, but I became paranoid when I felt like there was a good chance that like three of them were actually cooperating together. But in retrospect, it looks like it was just kind of a coincidence. And so that happens a lot. We might be paranoid or look like see things that look like they're suspicious, and a lot of times we assume the worst. So I slowly realized I was probably wrong, but gotta be careful. Chess beads, chess beans, chess jumping beans. All right. So I'm kind of waiting to gather some more games here almost as I drink my coffee. We've got Sun Prism game, game for Move 11, and my game. Normally we cover a bunch of games, so hopefully we'll get some more. You think Chess Beats would spark sales? Yeah. Well, advertising is the most important thing. You know, if you put it on, like I'm getting these ads on my phone. If you play like a free game or something that comes with your phone, then you get these like annoying ads. And those are like, I'm getting poker ads for some poker program, which I have no interest in, like an AI poker trainer for your phone, things like that. But you know, these phone ads have extreme reach, dude. Everybody's seeing these ads. You know, imagine chess beads ad on your phone. Probably costs a fortune to pay for those ads though. All right. Anyway, I just keep stalling here before we start. I guess we'll start with Sun Prism since he's not here. And let me flip this board, or we can just do it within the study. Let's make orientation black. Okay. Okay. And make orientation black. Okay. Make orientation black. Just be black. All right. Black, black, black. Black, black, black. Black, black, black. But good. All right. So, yeah, by the way, hello, Gypsy999. Thanks for being a viewer. Become a subscriber. And you too can submit a game to our game analysis. You're more of a watcher, I have the feeling. Like those old, I don't know if you remember this. I mean, you went to Harvard Square. You asked me about, you mentioned Harvard Square. There was this guy. He was, I think he was like a Harvard professor or researcher for years and years. This guy, he was, I don't even know his name. He was there 8 million times, but he never played. He maybe once. He always just watched. When other people played, when the masters played, he was always like a watcher, just standing in the background watching. I don't even know his name after seeing him like 20,000 times. And I don't know, he was like a 50-year-old Asian professor or researcher or something at Harvard because he was always there. And it's the weirdest thing, you know, these people, they could watch for 30 years without playing chess. Um, but that's fine. It's like watching golf instead of playing golf. It's more boring, but it's still interesting. Anyway, no, for some people watching is more interesting. All right, the coffee's kicking in, but I'm still tired. Anyway, all right, we're gonna start with Sun Prism. So Sun Prism sent in this game, I think, without any. It sounds very familiar. Yeah, dark hair, 50-ish guy. He may have been part, like not totally Asian, but like part Asian. He looked kind of Chinese, but maybe like mixed race. And he never hardly ever spoke. No one knew his name, and he was there for like 30 years. I mean, the whole time, not 30 years, but whatever. I was there for 15 years. It seemed like almost. Well, anyway, the 14 years I was there, he was there. He was always there. Um, Amazing thing, you know. The guy just would appear in the background, almost like a Truman Show or something. You're just like this actor that appears in the background of a scene, you know, and the guy almost never interacted or talked to anyone. It was really weird. Um, yeah, no, it's a background guy. It's really strange. He was the watcher, but sometimes he was sitting, sometimes he was standing. Never heard his name. All right, here we go. So, Sun Prism Black. It's knight f3, the most annoying move that you can face in chess for sure. Knight f3 definitely the most annoying move, right? Schieberspieler knows what we're talking about. This is an annoying move, and it's approved by Schieberspieler and me, but playing against it is annoying. It is seriously the most annoying move. It prevents g5. The maybe that's the one defect of knight f3. I mean, the Grob is like black's first opening. You're effectively preventing black from making, you know, the worst first move. Although some people might do that anyway. h6, like Hikaru. But no, joking. Sheeper Spiller, welcome. Good to see you. Hungarian Rapid and Blitz tournament. What do you got? I have nothing on the schedule. I had to start playing poker again. I go to Duna Poker and there's like 4 poker players there that are chess masters or good chess players anyway at the same time. So I'm not playing any tournaments, sadly, and I'm collecting money for the World Senior, which is like in October. I had hoped to play something in the summer, but looks like I'm not going to. But I assume you would probably at least play in ICA for the Hungarian Rapid. I think I asked you last time you were here, like a month ago. So, all right, knight of 3, knight of 6, and obviously, depends on your repertoire, but most people who play knight of 3 are basically usually waiting to see what black does. But as is the case here, mostly white tends to go into flank openings, so we'll usually see c4. Sometimes you'll see a King's Indian attack with g3, but I mean knight of 3, knight of 6, d4 is a little more rare. Are there any news about our cheapo master? Oh, yes, great. Asterbait is okay. He's okay. Unbelievable. I'm so glad you asked. He, out of the blue, after 4 months of not being here, he sent me an email. And by the way, I had emailed him initially back in March when he disappeared. I emailed him. I sent him messages on everywhere. No answer, no answer, no answer. He, out of the blue, emails me explaining that he still probably can't come to the stream because he doesn't have his iPad and iPad, and he's weird, so he does weird things. But he explained that due to money mostly, he can't get a new, iPad, and he also has this living arrangement where I think the landlord or roommate, whatever, kind of likes him to not be playing chess because it is beneficial to him. So I think the guy kind of like controls him, and he has some other thing with like a car shop program he's involved in. But the main point is that he couldn't come because he didn't have the money for a new iPad. Also, I think the state maybe reduced his amount of money, the assistance he gets for being having a disability in Nevada. The state of Nevada every state has programs for a certain amount of money they pay to people with any sort of mental or physical disability. And Asterbait is like on that program, but maybe they cut the money or something like that, so he couldn't afford to buy a new iPad, which is like really expensive. Obviously, I just read Apple is actually increasing the cost of iPads and its laptops because of chip prices. They're actually going even more high. But he said like he'd like to come back in the future or something like that. So anyway, he's alive and well, despite how strange it is that he just like disappeared, and would like to come back but cannot at this time. I told him if I win there's a 40 million foreign jackpot at Poker Club, and if I win it, I'll buy him a new iPad if it costs like $1,000. If I win like $40,000, I said 40 million, $40,000, yeah. It's like a 13.5 million jackpot, which is like $40,000. So very, very hard to win it. But if I did, I would get him a new iPad, give him a cut. C4 G6 anyway. That's the Asterbait story. He's still alive. B3 now by back to the game. This is Sun Prism. Sun Prism was playing like Grunfeld, maybe. So G6 is a reasonable move against Grunfeld. Guys, I'll show you Fischer Botvinnik during the stream. And, interestingly, here's one major advantage of playing knight f3 for white rather than c4. So with knight f3, you can always transpose back to king pawn openings. Like if I play g6, you can play e4. And Fischer, like against Botvinnik, played like c4, g6. But c4 isn't as dangerous. e4 isn't as dangerous. White's committed to c4, which makes it more of like a queen pawn leaning game. So g6 is a better move, I think, objectively. Less dangerous than against knight f3. Knight f3, retains the possibility of transposing. And now I got to get rid of these white arrows because they're fucking driving me crazy. Settings. All right, keyboard shortcuts. Show variation arrows. Show best move arrows. Nope. Let's see if that makes it go away. Please. Make it go away. No. Settings. Show variation arrows. Show maneuver. Show move annotations. What? Can it go away? Okay. Thank you for going away. All right. Knight f6, c4, g6, and now b3. So this is a kind of rare move. I mean, if white wanted to play b3, I would think, like in a lot of cases, they would play it on move 1 or move 2. But okay, it's a perfectly reasonable move. He sees the fianchetto. He's gonna counter fianchetto. All right. Bishop g7, bishop b2. Larson, for example, like to play such things. It's safe for white, but the big question is if white wants to double fianchetto. It's like a hedgehog in reverse. Let's just call it a reverse hedgehog. So there's two kinds of hedgehogs. There's like the standard hedgehog where you do e6 or e3, bishop e2. Acerbate also, by the way, playing this. Or, speaking of the devil, g3, the double fianchetto, which is more space to move around in, and your pieces aren't as congested. e6, what did you say? e6 is a cool line against knight f3, b6. Aha! Well, I've been giving away his secrets. The idea is to play d5. Very abstract. There's no instances of that happening. Well, it's always possible. I mean, what's your point? You want to play d5? Yeah. So boom, yeah, there's a bunch of games. But I'm thinking like these games happen with the other move order. So these people played like Shabalov has a game here. Krasnikov Shabalov. The draw from 2 years ago. And we were there, obviously, when Krasnikov lost the title because Shaba and Kaidanov played a suspicious game in the last round. I didn't say it. Yeah. So it came out of the other move order. Black played knight f6, e6, and then after b3, black's going g6, bishop g7. The idea here would be d5, probably. Hans Moke. Muki. So anyway, interesting idea, move 11. Now it's too late to play e6 now. Someone did that, but white could play e4. It's never too late to play e6. This is actually a transposition. Someone actually played g4 here. That's stupid. I saw this game in Boston back in like 95. Similar thing happened. White got crushed. He was an idiot. All right. Anyway, it's a weird suggestion, move 11, but I'll let it slide. Castles. Defending the bishop on g7. Committing the king to castle on king side. And surprised there's no maniacs who played like h4 here. All right, anyway, they always do that, the Maniacs. So any double fianchetto standard, and now black plays d6. You can play d5. That's truly a reversed hedgehog. Grishuk Morozevich. Anyway, let's just go on because it's like very standard. You could double fianchetto yourself here with b6, but I think it depends on what kind of structure you're used to playing. So we got a standard King's Indian set up now, and if black's allowed to play e5, it will no longer be a King's Indian, but it's like well, it's in English, right? So this is a good move by white. I mean, d4 stops e5. Well, at least it discourages e5. It plays against e5. You can play e5 here. This particular position, I'm not really familiar with. So I think e5 is like take, 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 take. This is Kramnik stuff. Traditionally, black would move the knight. You see that old Polish game, Wojtkiewicz versus Snapik, 1990? Fresh out of the gulag? I mean, wow. All right. But you don't have to. You know what's funny about these types of positions? It turns out that I think computers figured this out. It's actually best to just take back. And I don't remember any of these particular games, but I think this was kind of like unknown until Stockfish came on the scene. It turns out that grabbing this pawn on e5 isn't really too great. So it's funny, like queen takes queen, rook takes. If you try to eat the pawn, you lose a lot of time, right? Here's Nakamura Gupta, 2018. What do we do now? Knight c6. Taking a second pawn is suicide. So Hikaru goes, this is one of Hikaru's b3 openings. Bishop c3. And now you see knight e4. Bishop takes g7, king g7. So this was unknown to players years ago, how much compensation black actually has. It's not necessary to do that. In order to play e5, you don't have to go to this knight g4 or to knight d7 or whatever, which kind of loses time. And that changes everything. But white's best is something like takes, and I have to ask Kramnik. I mean, I'm used to seeing this position maybe in a slightly different order of moves. I'm used to see. I think I've seen this position with the bishop already on g2. Although I don't know how that would be possible. Actually, yeah. No, I'm thinking of a slightly different position. I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 5. I have to confess that I'm thinking of this. Pawn on c4, bishop on g2. It's different. It's different. It's better for white because it's like he's created less weaknesses and has more development. But the themes are pretty much very similar. This is where George Meyer and Kramnik, I referenced Kramnik, but Kramnik's game was with the pawn on c2 still. And like bishop on g2. It's better for white than this. The c4 kind of weakens this position a bit. So it looks like you have to take here, and now it looks like some kind of exchange King's Indian, but black has compensation. It looks like full compensation. Knight a6, knight d3, bishop f5, knight c3, and now the engine likes rook d6, tn. That's a move that I'm going to report my computer opponent for. Then it changes its mind. All right. But anyway, you get the moral of the story that white has its like development problems. So black has compensation on lines. Anyways, so you might argue that d4 is like an inaccurate move order for white because of this move. essentially. So bishop g2 is probably best, just developing. But now Sun Prism plays bishop g4, which is a weird move. I don't really understand what we're doing. Move 11, you've done this. But it's artificial. It's just like it's a move, you know, but what does it do? It doesn't do anything. Are you going to trade your bishop for the knight on f3? Well, that would be fine if you were doubling his pawns or something, but now you're not getting that. And then there's this. I suppose you can play queen c8. Induce h3 and then go back and then keep him frozen to h3. So white has to do like the elephant walk here to get his king over to h2 or whatever without hanging the pawn. Although move 11 would fearlessly play g4. To me, that kind of makes the most sense if you want to justify bishop g4. Black now played. Oh shit! I forgot to activate my stream. Hold on a second. Sparkle Horse. I am streaming. Oh, okay. That's weird. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Okay, so bishop g2, c6 now. Yeah, I thought you were going to do that, but it would be more normal to say do c6 first. Whatever. Okay, c6, knight on bd2. And now, I mean, this bishop can come back. It obviously shouldn't have gone to g4 in the first place. But, you know, it's hard to understand your justification for trading a bishop on f3 for nothing, because bishops are worth more than knights. So, move 11, a man after your own heart. That bishop is suspicious. Could it potentially be trapped? Yeah, I mean, probably not. You never know. But, I mean, white does what I would expect him to do. And now if bishop goes back here is bad because of knight g5. If bishop f5, then maybe g4. So you have to take, right? So now you've given up your bishop for nothing. And I honestly, I don't know which way white should recapture. These are different moves. Bishop takes and knight takes. I know that's deep, right? Deep. They're different moves. No shit. They do different things, though. You know, one keeps the bishop open, and the other one increases the pressure on e5. So I don't know which way white should take back. But black has to play on dark squares now. You've given up your light square bishop, and therefore your game is about the dark squares, because it ain't about the white squares. I mean, you could go here and play like a solid Slav type of structure, but I think in that case you're like just slightly worse and passive. But what I'm thinking is, like, could you possibly play for the dark squares? It's a little counterintuitive because you might think, well, I don't want to put pawns on dark squares if I have dark square bishop. But I think we're fighting for control of the dark squares where we're superior. And it's tactically defended because of this. So you have tricks based on queen a5 check. Now, how exactly is it going to work? Don't ask me. I just work here. Check, queen d2. Queen d2, king takes. It looks like maybe the best black has to go a pawn down, huh? It's not so great. Takes, check, takes, and probably a draw, but a torture draw. Let's see with the engine. E5, it's playable. It goes to the line I mentioned. But I don't like the position in general. We're probably playing for a draw with e5. But either way, you're slightly worse, you know? maybe you could try queen a5 check just for kicks. See if white plays king f1 or plays queen d2. Okay, I guess his move is reasonable. Rook e8 with a plan of e5. Nothing wrong with that. White castles, and then wow, you transposed good old Viktor Ivanov, Shosh Arpad, two players that I've played, Hungarian and Ukrainian IMs, battling it out in 1998. Ivanov and Shosh Arpad. So, anyways, black plays e5, and now, I mean, I think that e3, as Ivanov played here, looks normal. The engine doesn't like it, but it's not like white has that many different options. I kind of feel like this is the standard thing to do. But black gets e4 and some space. He doesn't have a light square bishop, though, so it's hard to be like, oh, wow, white's going to get crushed with this e4 advance. I mean, Shosh ended up losing the game. I mean, either they're like equal strength players, so anybody could have won this game. I like e3. I mean, your alternative is what, taking? But that improves your structure. You're upgrading black's pawn from d6 to e5. I will make a comment though, like going back, I can't help but wonder if like bishop takes f3 might be a better option. But I suppose black still plays e5, and why, why is it any better? Better control of e4 just for a moment. There'd be no queen a5 check, but you could play e3, for example. I don't know. It probably doesn't make that much difference. I just wasn't sure if the knight might like staying here to control the e4 square. Welcome, everybody. We are analyzing games in depth, master level analysis. Please don't get bored. Chess is really hard. It's not supposed to be easy. Dude, I checked Prime Video yesterday. And I was looking at the channels, and there was some video channel, like some sports video channel, that had like kids soccer tournaments. And guess what else? There was like a list of programs, and I don't know what subscription sports channel it was. They were all like little midget soccer tournaments and bullet chess, live bullet chess broadcast on like some kind of Amazon Prime streaming channel. I was like, oh my god, chess is over. The mainstream people think that bullet chess is real chess. It is not. It is not. It's like destroying chess and destroying the culture of chess. Anyway, rook e8, castles, e5, e3, and Shosh Arpad decided to play e4. I don't think that's obligatory either. You don't have to, or it's a question, and also you can do it when you want to do it. So I don't like the square. Unbelievably, you transposed to another game with this random grandmaster, Boris Savchenko. Everybody's so quiet in the chat. That's because there is no one in the chat. I'm only streaming 4 days a week. This week only 3. Twitch has died. Chess has died. The chess Blasterbait's not here. He's my greeter, like Walmart greeter. But this has always been my smallest stream, Schieberspieler. I've always had the least amount of viewers on analysis stream. So it's normally like 12 viewers. We have 9 at the moment. And then everyone else I just kicked out. Random Grandmaster. He defeated he defeated who's Carlsen? I don't know. There's too many Savchenkos. Shiver Spieler. I can't be sure like which one it is. But there have to be like 3 grandmasters named Savchenko. And he's 2470. I'm like, that can't be the one that beat Carlsen. The dude's 2470. How's that possible? What did the dude like sell all his rating points? Wasn't he like 2600? He's the Russian Blitz specialist guy? Okay. It was like 15 years ago. No, the cheater guy was a different guy. That's You're confusing him with another name. The cheater guy was a different name. No, that's isn't it? Carlsen left his piece, and I forget. Um, Shevchenko, exactly. Shevchenko. So Queen C7 it's like the move you play in the old Indian, and and the Philidor, because you literally have a bishop on E7, and there's nowhere else to put your queen. You know, I mean, are you going to put your queen on B8 here? I hope not. But King's Indian tip: if you're going to put your queen somewhere, usually put it on E7. Sometimes you might put it on A5. You have lateral, mobility here, probably not. And then of course there's B6. But B6 usually bad in these type of structures. Once I lost a really bad game against Dmitry Bunzman, the B6 queen just like it does nothing here. Plus you allow these C5 type of levers, which Pondo lost yesterday, a brutal game against Radusa. He was killing Radusa with his crushing C5. And poor Panda ended up like losing the game, his first defeat in like 30 matches or something like that. But E7 is your square. And even Magnus himself has been known to put his queen on he's been known to put his queen on F8, although this is not a traditional structure because for a King's Indian, because white has not played E4. So white has not fully weakened the dark squares. And if we're looking for stuff like Queen F8, I think we're looking for stuff like Bishop H6, where white has played E4. Maybe there's like a bishop on E3. We can trade off our bad bishop with like Bishop H6 or something like that. So I'm just talking a lot and not saying anything. Anyway, this is always the better square. Kirill Shevchenko. Yeah. Nepomniachtchi made a post about taking chess cheaters more seriously, cheatering more seriously, like more serious punishments and stuff. I don't know where I saw that on the phone the other day. All right. So this is awkward. So I would maybe play A5 if you want to play a random move other than E4. A5 grabbing space with a rook, developing its terminal square, giving you A4 levers, A4, A3. I think that's pretty standard here. Dark square, dark square, dark square. Queen E7 or the E4, which is fine. The thing about it is if you play E4, Shoshar here went D5 right away. I understand this, but I also don't think it's necessarily obligatory. There are situations where doing this is just terrible. Like it loses. White will just infiltrate down the C file. Your pawn on D5 is like a target. It's kind of like a backward pawn almost. But oddly, this doesn't seem like such a bad situation. On the other hand, this is only attacked twice, so you also don't have to play D5. He could have played a different move. But at the same time, okay, it's not so bad. Now Ianov played B4. And now black played B5, which looks very weird and committal. But it's an old game from 1998. I mean, I don't know what to judge these guys by this game. I don't know. We can't really draw any conclusions. I mean, I think that black attacking on the king's side is the order here, you know. We should be playing h5, knight f8, knight e6, like a standard King's Indian type of attack. We don't have our light square bishop, but it's not so bad. On the other hand, black doesn't have to play d5. You could defend the pawn on e4 with the queen, not commit to d5 necessarily. I don't know, you know, but whatever. It's also fine to not play e4. So, queen c7, I hate queen c7. Unbelievably, this position was reached. Pawn takes pawn, unnecessary, but probably not terrible. The most important thing to note here, by the way, guys, could you call the setup for black a black lion? Yeah, I mean, that's what black seems to be doing. He's playing it like an old Indian. Yeah. Yeah, I think you could. Hi, Redusa. You're a subscriber. You can send a game. But not the game that you beat Panda. Panda's a little upset right now. No, I'm just kidding. Whatever. All right. Panda was smashing things like in my apartment last night. I came home from the airport and all the stuff was like, the monitor was cracked. There was stuff on the floor. No, I mean, I came home to my apartment, all the stuff was smashed. And I didn't understand what it was, but it turns out that Pando lost his game, his like first loss on his account, so he was really pissed. So Hari Madhavan played Rook C1. Yeah, that's kind of a grotesque move. This is okay. I mean, it's on the same level with Queen C7. Robotic, mindless moves. Yeah, that definitely is a blitz game for chess.com. Anybody want to bet? First of all, Shiva Spieler tipped us off with the blitz guy. But secondly, you know, we're making moves like Queen C7 and Rook C1. What does it tell you? It's a blitz game from Chess Your Mom. Chess.Your Mom. Why else would be people playing like, I'm sorry, I'm like talking like Yoda. But seriously, why else would supposedly strong players be playing moves like Queen C7 and Rook C1? Seriously. And the databases are filled with this crap. It's like, my dad had this dad joke, an expression for like junk food. He called, it's an old school expression for junk food. You know, your like digestive system is called like your bowels or whatever. So he called it bowel packing material. It was classical. The DN International Grandmaster Chess Championships. Well, that sounds official. Well, to me, it looks like a blitz game. Queen C7 is the worst, but whatever. You know, they're just like making random moves. Probably they made the moves and you know, just sent it in by mail. It was like by mail voting. Voting by mail. But it was worth checking. Anyway, bow packing material. It's just bow packing material. So now white plays d takes e5, which the engine liked before. Trading a 4th rank pawn for a 3rd rank pawn for a d file that, you know, no one's gonna be able to really penetrate on. I don't like this exchange for white, but I mean, normally we should take with the pawn. You know, you may be making a very serious mistake here by taking with the knight. Because if white goes knight d4, like, how are you getting rid of that knight on d4? Are you planning on playing c5? Because I don't see it. You know, you can play c5. Maybe if you play a6, you can play c5. But even if you can achieve c5, white has like knight back to e2, knight c3, boom. This is very bad. Gobble troll mops and Matvey 2009 rating with a party of 8. That is awesome, guys. Thank you, Matvey. Thanks for the raid. We need the viewers. Thank you, Shiva Spieler, for doing the research. Sri Lanka. I bet the tournament never happened. I mean, nothing against Sri Lanka, but you know, there's some funny tournaments sometimes. This game just doesn't look real. But anyway, this is an online game. So white takes is bad. it's not a great move. I like queen c2. And suddenly you got a Bella Badea game. Enazir Rahman, the guy who died during his game 2 years ago. Two good players suddenly appear with white when you throw in the move queen c2. Strange, isn't it, how that happens? Instead of rook c1, queen c2 is much better. You want to have the rook, connected, maybe coming to d1. Who puts the rook on c1 here? It's so weird, This is stupid. This is like a beginner move. All right. Queen c2 is better, but this is bad. Now you should take with a pawn. Knight takes is fine, except for, I think, this. And white is slightly better. His bishop is good. He has a bishop. You don't. He has two bishops. You only have one. White is better now, Even if you play this and you have, like, let's say, a good pawn on d5, I mean, the two bishops still gives white a slight edge. You don't really have compensation for that. Light square bishop. How do you have an unopposed light square bishop on g2? So whatever. Knight takes is bad. He does queen c2. Okay, that's not a bad move. Here, and you have a backward pawn on the d file. What's up? That's not great. That's why you shouldn't take with a knight. I mean, basically, to make a long story short, you normally don't take with a knight in these types of situations unless it's like something where white really has to take himself. And now white plays rook d1, which is very good. Black plays h5. I like that move in a closed structure, but this is not a closed position now. So I think this is like it's like camel culture style. Now you're playing like camel culture did against me. That's a move that works if the center is closed and you can attack on the king side. The center is not closed. There's a half open file. You have a backward pawn. You can't expect to attack this guy on the flank. If there's action in the center here, h5 is a bad move. Now, white is 2,000 something. He's playing fairly well. And now he goes fishing with knight g5, which, okay, it doesn't seem bad. A little bit weirdly timed. I think I would probably prefer my knight here, but maybe I don't know. Maybe I would play this. He's kind of inducing this. You don't have any sacrifices. So now you corrected your queen, like you were watching the stream or something. Yeah, no, I don't think that white has a plan. He played f4. Yeah, I mean f4 is extremely risky. Well, what is he gonna do after knight d7? I mean, just assuming you don't have a sacrifice, because you might, knight g4 or something. I mean, this has to be considered, right? Here, probably doesn't work, but let's just make sure. Takes. Now, white has to defend this. So I would think like maybe bishop c1, knight takes e3, bishop takes, queen takes check, and black doesn't quite have enough compensation. But you need to make sure, right? f4, very risky, totally unnecessary. And Cheaper Spieler, this is my big thing, and you probably would agree with me, knowing your style. But the more I play chess, the less I know. No. The more I play chess, the more this, like, especially poker too, everyone is like just ridiculously like too aggressive. Everybody is a maniac. For every like solid player, there's like 10 maniacs. People want like immediate gratification. They're not patient at all. Maybe it's even more noticeable in poker, but it's the culture we live in. Anyway, f4, impatient, knight d7, and now e4. Okay. I don't think there was any other sacrificial possibility here. But f4 is not a move white has to play. They could play more patiently. Maybe prepare it like this or something. You don't have any real threats. I mean, I guess you could play d5 though, to be honest. You sent the game, okay. Are you chat banned? I don't see it. So I guess he's justifying playing f4 before you have time to play d5. And the idea is, computer doesn't like f4. Dude, this is what Schieberspieler would play, and probably what I would play too. And this is what Dmitry Buntsman would play, you know, back in 1998 when I lost to him in a queen b6 sort of position like this. Exactly same thing. Just pressure on d6. The bishop maybe comes here. You can massage d6. Very pleasant position for white, hard for black to do anything. It's very bad. Yes. But white instead is impatient with f4. You go back. There's no tactics. But now you have dark square play. Now it's like you played e4. All the dark squares, a5, knight on on c5. His bishop is blocked by its own pawns. So having said all that, you know, he still has these advances that could be dangerous. If you I actually lost to this weak kid in an IM tournament last year where I underestimated a sort of e5 break, and the guy just tactically killed me. If you make one mistake, something could go wrong. Like if he gets an e5 in the wrong way, you know, you get crushed on f7 or something like that. We have to be careful. Sorry, that's not a move. Delete. But okay, now the knight is a face hugger. I think knight h7 is justified. Passive, yes. Necessary, maybe. Justified, probably. Fun, no. But we're past the point of fun. You know, we need to try to hold this position. And honestly, like, if you go into some kind of endgame where it's like kind of restricted bishop against a good knight outposted on c5, white might even lose. The computer would never lose. Schieberspieler would never lose. But average players will lose, you know, with a bad bishop against a knight. I've won tons of games like that with black. So maybe exchanging these pieces is not like playing for a draw necessarily. You're trading off a dangerous piece. Knight c5, you just kind of continue like nothing happened. I mean, maybe this, maybe. Yeah, and now you did this very artificial looking move, which looks dangerous. You recognize the knight on g5 is dangerous. I mean, I was thinking about this, but once again, we have a lot of danger here. I don't know. I mean, if we did nothing, maybe a5 again is a good move. It's not protected. I would like it better with the rook on a8. So, what else but knight h7? You know, again, somebody needs to tell me why we're not playing knight h7. He can avoid the exchange pieces, and maybe he should. But in that case, let's go bishop to h7, king g7, knight f3. If we try to take this pawn, yeah, maybe that's good enough. So you should play knight h7. Instead, you did bishop h6, which is like leaving this. Now, maybe you're very brilliant, you know, like Botvinnik or something, but this position, I don't think so. You know, you're now like in more danger on that diagonal, and taking this is a very strange idea. So white ignores you and plays b4. Now your knight goes to a6. That's horrible. I mean, clearly this is an option. You have to calculate tactically. Knight e6. Pawn e6 is bad. So you have to take with the queen. Then he has stuff like f5. And I mean, we're definitely not having fun here. Okay. All right. So we screwed up, basically. It looks like you have to go back, honestly. It looks like you have to go back to d7. I mean, I think securing this and this, that's your only option here, you know? a6 is horrific. I suppose you thought you could come here, but this isn't so great. You know, it doesn't do anything. I mean, why not sure up? Okay, you're afraid of d6 maybe being weak? You shouldn't have played bishop h6 in the first place. Knight a6, queen c3. Yeah, maybe this turns out to be a little ambitious. a3 is fine. I think I would just play a3 if I were white. This is like a nice threat, but forces you to like correct your mistake. And this pawn isn't that well defended on b4. So unless he has a tactic here, true enough, you don't have a move. Like your knight is paralyzed to, yeah. No, what? Yeah, knight cd7. That's what I said. We're just a little bit, I think you're on delayed mode, Schieber-Spieler. I'm thinking the same thing as you. It just takes you longer to get through the internet. So I played e5. But you're not threatening anything, you know, so. Though you can. I mean, you can move your rook and play knight e8. Or maybe you can even play h4 and knight h5, discovering on him. That's actually not a bad idea. Say a3, h4, g4, knight h5. Hello? I'm starting to like your position now. So queen c3 is a mistake. He should have just played a3. He forces you to go back. It's like erasing the mistake you made with bishop h6. Okay, this has got to be a fast game, right? 10 minutes. e5, also a mistake. Impatient, not leaving the pressure here. Takes. Now he trades rooks. You take. And, I mean, obviously, you need to consider queen takes. I would assume. I would probably prefer to take with the queen, but whatever. And now he plays a move that just protects his pawn with c5. But that's kind of like, yeah, you should have played a3. As Nick DeFermian said to Slaggy in 1999 or 2000, pawns should protect pawns, not pieces. I suspect that Nick got that from, you know, probably like Koltanowski or something. He recited it like he had been told that by a really, yeah. Instead of queen c3, that was the move all along. After knight a6, you play a3. That's it. Pawns protect pawns, not pieces. You don't want your queen babysitting a pawn. I mean, the guy's main threat was attacking f6, but it's a one-move threat. Who cares? Taking care of this pawn is another deal. You know, he thought he was clever, but he's just forcing you to make a good move. And now he's like going too fast. Takes. I don't know about capture. This. And now what's the problem? You simply have knight d5. So White's problem is that he just doesn't think. He had a good position, but just stopped thinking. And now queen c4 with an eye on the light squares and f7. Now Bobby Fischer and Korchnoi would be proud of the following pawn grab, but f6 looks very risky. We don't want to do that. I have to say, though, I probably would have taken with the queen on d8, but I get it now. I get it. You know, by taking with the rook, you were able to keep pressure on b4. I hadn't really thought about it. I was assuming he would go here, you know, by the way, but then you just take this pawn. I have no idea what's going on here, but black has good play, clearly. He might have a chance, though. Let's see. Yeah. Queen takes on the 7th. See, he gets on the 7th, and white has enough compensation. This is a lot like the Fischer-Bofink game I'm going to show you guys a little bit later. This is very active here. And notice, what do those squares have in common? They're white squares. Wow. Anyway, rook takes d8, takes c5, here, knight d5, queen c4. Now you grab the pawn, and white's kind of figuring, well, I must have something right here. The rook. What do you want him to do? Taking with the pawn. Another pawn is falling on c5, right? We just chop. Takes, takes. And Botvinnik is a clear pawn down. Plus there's forks here. I didn't even mention that, knight d3, but okay, we got to recapture first. So when you get set, please, bishop takes e5. You grab the pawn with check. Chop, chop. You're up a pawn. You're up 2 pawns. Correct me if I'm wrong. Bishop takes g7 takes. Now it's 2 pawns, not 1. And now b7 is, very importantly, this is defended. Yeah, this is very similar to game 3. All right, rook e7, a bit too late, and ironically also very similar to Botvinnik Fischer, the convenient rook d7. Rook d7, knight d7, and unlike Botvinnik Fischer, you're up 2 pawns, not 1. And now knight e4 and 3 pawns. Make that 3 pawns. Wait, when did you win a piece? What am I missing here? You're not up a piece. I'm hallucinating. Sorry. Hallucination. All right, so yeah, you're up to 3 pawns. No pieces, just pawns. All right. White totally melted down. Very strange. So I got a game from Redusa. What's your name again? All right, whatever. What's your name again? Redusa 8. All right. What? Oh, it's Radusa, right? Hello. No, Rudusa. That's what I typed. You're not Redusa 8 on here? It's with a capital R. It's case sensitive. That's so weird. It's case sensitive. What? Sorry, your account has been closed. Reduce. All right. Non-words, things that aren't real words, I can't remember because they're not real words. That's why I was calling you Dusan Radic, because I need something to like identify you. Like to remember you, you have to have a real name. I can't remember Redusu. All right. Bye guys, Schieberspieler. Thanks for being with us today. Someone gift a sub to Schieberspieler while he's leaving. Can we get a gift sub? Anyway, so I've got messages here. Game. Zushka. Okay. Analysis board. Whatever. Nope. Nope. I didn't want to do that. I want to get PGN. Boy, it's humid in here. Let's see. Copy. Hot. Where's Chemiculture? I think it's getting hotter instead of cooler here. What the heck, man? How can it get hotter at 8 p.m.? It must be that the French heat wave is just reaching us now. It feels hotter than it was an hour ago. All right, anyway, our next game is submitted by Move 11. This was my game against Mr. Slowhand, played in a simul in 2023. Is this a simul game? No. What? No, it has to be a simul game. Yeah, when I was still doing the simuls with 15-minute starting time. Global swarming. Yeah, Europe is actually the fastest warming continent. I read that today, and mostly because of carbon emissions. So people that are like climate science denialists are lying. This is totally man-made. Okay, Mr. Slowhand versus Sparkle Horse, submitted by Move 11. Guys, thanks to the raid earlier from Matvi. Move 11 always like, he's always like leaving. He comes and leaves, drops the game and leaves. He'll watch it later. E4, C5, knight f3. I was black. D4, takes, knight f6, knight c3, knight c6, bishop c4. So, for those of you that don't know, Mr. Slowhand has not been visiting our stream this year since the end of last year, and he did drop by once. He's a good player from Germany. He's been a patron of the stream. He supported the stream a lot with donations, subscribing, also contributing to the analysis streams. But he had some problems, and he's been unable to attend the last 6 months, and assured me that he wishes he could come, but he can't. Hopefully he'll be back in the future. But in any case, this is a game from a few years ago. And Mr. Slow, he likes Velimirovich. He liked to play the Velimirovich attack with white. This is a Sicilian, Sozin, classical. And then when white plays queen e2, after bishop e3, a6, I delay castling. You can play bishop b3 as Alonso Zapata played against me at the World Open. With bishop b3, you keep your powder dry and keep your options open. White can still castle kingside playing a Fischer Sozin. And as I mentioned in the stream, like a few months ago in a game, it's interesting that Fischer never really liked the Velimirovich. He didn't really go for it much, but he might have had one or two examples where he did play a Velimirovich. Of course, it wasn't fully developed. Velimirovich, I don't know. He was probably Fischer's generation or a little bit younger, but it wasn't the same thing back in 1972 or whatever. In the late 60s, when Fischer was at his peak, the Velimirovich wasn't as well known. So this is it, queen e2. And now white intends to castle queenside, but not necessarily right away. He could play other moves like g4. And normally I like to play the game variation queen c7, knight a5, and I try to organize queenside counterplay rather than castling. You can see this is the main move. Although bishop e7 is also a main line. And white will face black king castling immediately. I guess if bishop e7, I mean, I would have to wonder about g4. There must be a problem tactically with that because of this. So we will have to prepare here. I remember a famous game where Tal took back with the rook here, and the rook came over here later. Anyways, I'm off the subject. So queen e2, queen c7, castles queenside, knight a5, and now I had a game with somebody where they played bishop e3. Not so distant past, I think Arsenal fan did this against me. Yeah, but it's not as good. I mean, this is known. This is known to be like the best move, and it's not as traditional as bishop b3. I first faced this against Mark Hebden. I think playing Blitz 5-0 20 years ago on the Internet Chess Club. Mark frequently played, and we would sometimes get paired up, and I would play the black side of the Sicilian. Sometimes he played different stuff, but there was at least one example of this. I remember Hebden playing against me, and others. John Nunn, 1992. Coincidence? Probably not. He probably knows that. Bishop d3, now b5, and now Mr. Slow here played a3, and it's also possible to play g4. It's apparently also possible to play f4. But white plays a3. The engine says a3 is the best move, slowing white down, but weakening the pawn position around the white king. Rook b8 now, main line, and now Mr. Slow played f4. Mr. Slow knows a lot of theory. g4 is the standard plan, but I've had this position before. I mean, I'm certain. f4, not as usual. I mean, with f4, white will focus on playing for e5, and that's the thing about knight is absent from the center where it was formerly controlling. The artist formerly known as knight on c6, it was formerly controlling these squares. So with f4, it's an interesting and kind of like less typical move whereby white threatens e5. I see there's a game here by Alexei Fedorov, which is interesting because he's a Belarusian grandmaster, plays the Sozin a lot. Makes you wonder about connections with these very aggressive famous players like Velimirovich. f4, and now black to move. Here I'm thinking white, white doesn't have anything to protect f4. So if he plays e5, take, you don't have a skewer like that. From the distance, global warming looks like good morning if you need glasses. So I didn't know what to do here. I've never faced this f4. And I mean, I wasn't sure if white has like a threat. Is this a threat? I would normally play like for b4, but with b4 we've got to watch a6. I mean, white will take, and after rook takes, there's this, which may be dangerous. I don't know. There's an interesting move here, knight d7. This was played in a couple of games. White, interestingly, went now for f5. Knight e5, but there's that. So I didn't know what to do here. The computer says what I played was best. But I mean, I'm really just guessing on this move. And interestingly, someone here played e5. Which seems really weird. e5. How does white do that? Giving up their dark square bishop? That's very surprising. Couldn't black take on e3 here? He played d takes e5, f takes e5, and now black went nuts with knight takes b2. What? And how is this Sergei Azarov guy rated 2667? This is a little suspicious. Okay, this is a nice move. It's cute. Knight takes b2, king takes b2, b4, knight b5, queen e5. This is really random, man. Queen e2, knight c7 check, king d7 takes, king takes c7, bishop g3. Here, are you kidding me? Bro, this looks really strange. Wow. Black, this is, I don't know, man. This game doesn't look legit. It's just very strange. Very strange. Why does black need to play like that? You know, I mean, couldn't you do like anything here? I would think black is like clearly winning after e5. Just take. Yeah, just take on e3. Surprisingly, white can sack the exchange. Wow, takes. Knight d5. Oh my gosh. Wow. That's crazy, but still not convincing. Very weird game. I don't know about this Azarov guy being rated almost 2,700 back in 2012. Almost never heard of him. I mean, I think I have heard of him, but he's like nowhere near that high rated now. This is interesting. So f takes e5, knight takes b2. The engine actually likes this move. King takes b2, and we're all expecting bishop takes a3 check. But instead, the guy goes b4. This is very weird. Anyways, so Mr. Slow doesn't do that. He takes. And so this is Fedorov Kosteniuk, 22. She was only like 18 or 19 at that time. If that. Because I remember playing Isle of Man in 1999, and Alexander Kosteniuk was like 15. I had never heard of her before, but she was like getting close to 20, around 2,400. So this is a game from 2002 where black drew against Fedorov. So Mr. Slow is clearly better here. What about taking with the queen, though? It's that bad because of knight c6. Still, you think it would be playable. Queen takes, pawn takes, knight c6. There's just no good square for the rook. We're going to lose the c4 pawn. We're just going to drop this pawn. Because if rook c7, bishop b6. So knight c4, bishop c4, bc4. This is like best play. And now Mr. Slow played a bad novelty. So Fedorov's move is best. White is better. D takes e5. F takes e5. Knight d5. Knight d5. E d5. Best play by both sides. And white has e6, but didn't find it. Compensation. He took it easy on her. She was just 2,400. Give her a draw. Rising star against veteran. All right, but no, not really. I'm sure that Fedorov tried, but Kosteniuk was already pretty good by that point. She wasn't world women's champion, but I think that was later. The King Charles Cav. Welcome back. So this is a game I played in a simul a couple years ago. Well, 4 years ago to be exact. 3 years ago in 23. We both played perfectly to a degree. And there's 3 games here. Oddly, they're all at the same time. 2002, 2002, and 2006. E5, D takes E5, but this didn't happen. So Mr. Slow varied with a new move, Rook HE1. And now I played Queen B7. Yeah, I mean, it's a wild situation. I thought I was like winning. but I lack development, and his king just pops out to d2. It's a very nice idea. This would be bad because of bishop d7, and a concept I'm very familiar with. But so Mr. Slow found this. Queen takes c4. And here I opted not to take on b2 check because my queen is like getting trapped. So instead, I also didn't like this. I don't know why. I decided to play bishop d7. Yeah, I did not remember this. This is a clear mistake, though. It looks like I had to play knight takes e4. It's maybe the same. So anyway, I missed queen takes e4. I thought I could take this pawn. So this is that bad. Check, king here, queen back, rook b1, queen a8, rook takes b8, queen takes, rook b1. And black is like lost for queen b3. Obviously, I didn't see that, here. I should have made some sort of sensible move instead of queen b7, wasting time. He takes, he's winning, bishop d7. Then he goes too far with e5. Takes e5, f takes e5, queen takes b2 check, king d2. And now I had this. But this game was played again. Oddly enough, it was played 3 years ago. It feels like just yesterday. Funny, this game doesn't feel like it was played 3 years ago at all. Feels relatively fresh in my memory. I was lucky though. He missed rook c8. He thought he was like still winning. So this move saves me. And he played rook b1. And then, I don't know whether I intended to play rook takes, but then I saw this. Queen b3. And then I guess I didn't play the very best move here, but I'm fine. I have, 2 bishops, equal pawns, better structure, and trading queens. This is the better move, apparently. Not easy to find. I played queen takes queen. Takes to the rook. I have a passed pawn now. But I guess he had no other choice. Rook takes. If he takes with a pawn, I have a tactic. Bishop b4, which I probably would have seen. Rook takes here, here. Knight h6. This again seems like just yesterday. Very strange feeling here. And then castles. My knight has square. And then here, knight e4, very strong knights in the center. White is virtually okay. I remember doing this. And this way my knight can get back. I'm opening the position for my bishops. Still the game is close. Wow, what do we get? Move 11 with a gift sub. Oh, you should have gifted a gift sub to Schieberspieler, Move 11. That's fine. We got a gift sub for Elite User. He gifted a sub one, a tier 1 sub to the community. It's getting hotter here. Is this really weird? Is it just me? It's 8 p.m. and it's hotter than it was at like 6:30. It's crazy. All right. So this was this very complicated game. Apparently, I don't know. I mean, this is time pressure in the simul. I had better moves. This is a mistake. He takes, it's like equal. He takes, it's like equal. Now I'm actually, down a pawn after rook takes c6? This I don't remember doing, by the way. I ended up hanging a piece and losing the game. I mean, I must have been like flagging or something. There's no other explanation for the following move. Well, I'm like losing a pawn. It looks like I'm lost. But I'm not actually not down a pawn yet. Okay. I thought I was down a pawn. I'm actually losing a pawn, but I'm still possibly hanging on here due to maybe tactics. Rook e8. But I was playing a simul and I was playing multiple boards and I just freaked out and hung a piece. So if I play the best move, rook e8, not easy to find. Check, takes, rook takes. I'm down a pawn in an endgame that looks bad. I mean, he has pawns on both flanks, and I have a knight against a bishop. I thought I had this, check, king b2, check, king a2, but I mean, I still would think like I'd probably be holding this. I wouldn't want to trade pieces. Maybe rook e2, rook c1, or rook c6. Black has good chances to draw. That's it. Anyway, move 11. The theoretical significance of this game really kind of comes down to a3, rook b8, where Mr. Slow plays Fedorov's f4, sort of non-traditional move. This is interesting also is this move played by Kaidanov in 1986. Oh, I think we discovered this. You guys want to check the database? This game I totally forgot about. That's crazy. Wow. I played with Renard Anderson. We should ask Chemiculture about that guy. I think he's from Colorado. I remember beating Renard Anderson in the New York Open in 1994-95 in a really long endgame. What I don't remember is this draw from 2002. Weird. December 2002. I have no idea. Maybe I played him in the North American Open. I guess I played him in North American Open. I don't remember that at all. So we have a game here. Look, Renard Anderson versus me. Renard is a national master, or was. I don't know if he's still alive. Here. This is a weird game. I totally spaced on this. Wow, he was like killing me. +2. Rook takes. What was I doing? Wow. Bishop h4. I was really pushing the envelope here. Check this out. I'm on drugs or something. This is insane. f5, e5, knight d5. Wow. Bro, what was I doing during this game? Dude, he was crushing me. Holy shit. He was crushing me. Totally winning. This is like my game from the World Senior where I drew with Doherty. Oh my god. You know, at this point, I'm getting kind of suspicious. You know that? I don't think I would play this badly. The ratings are right. And the date's possible. But I don't remember this game, and it's like not a DGT board. It's telling me, you know, I have this very sneaky suspicion that this is Renard versus someone else. And that it wasn't me. And they got the game confused or something. I don't think I'm capable of playing this badly, honestly. I really, maybe I'll see the end and remember something. I don't think this is me. Rook b5, check, king d8, knight takes b5, a takes b5, queen c3, bishop b7, bishop takes f6, check, king e8. It's crazy. I no recollection of this. I feel like this was somebody else's game. I mean, it's like something I might do. I might defend like a totally lost position. Certainly a KG effort by Black. Whether it was me or someone else is unclear. I mean, it's weird. I have zero recollection of that being my game. And it certainly wouldn't be the first time that North American Open 2002 doesn't mean it's my game. I do not remember drawing with Rennert Anderson in the North American Open in 2002. These people that submit the games and shit, they make mistakes. I'm under the impression this is someone else's game, probably. Check here, check here, check, draw. It's possible I totally forgot, but I don't know, man. I don't remember that. It looks like beyond my capability of bad play, honestly. The opening fits, the time fits, and the ratings and the names fit, but the level of play looks like far worse than I'm capable of. Unless I was like on drugs or drunk or something, like, I don't know how that could happen. But what were we saying? Oh, we were looking at this move, Rook HE1 instead of F4. Kind of a sneaky move. And the other players elect to develop their pieces sensibly. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would think I would remember something about it. Like, oh, wow, I swindled Rennert into a draw from a totally lost position. Maybe I'll come up with a game score. I don't know. But that was really bad. So anyway, let's move on. Radusa versus Zuzka. Chess lover. Chess is lover. I know it's Zuzka. But she plays under a different account. All right. So Blitz game, Benko Gambit. I have a weird feeling that I played the Benko Gambit against Radusa and he played something else. No, Azushka is a female name for Susanna or Zuzana. It's like a Central Eastern European female name, like a nickname for Susanna, Zuzana, something like that. So it's a woman. It's not a he. It's a she. Guys, it's so hot in here. What am I gonna do? Susan Polgar. Ugh. Don't make me think about that. Technically, that would be a Zuzka. Or Zuzha. But anyway, we don't want to think about that. Think about AI-generated platinum blondes. Think about what's that? What's that old Photoshop? Yeah, Photoshop. Pro Photoshop. Sir Rolandson. Dude, I have an air conditioning, but it'll kill me, man. It'll kill me. It's like the cure is worse than disease. The air conditioner is great, but when it's like going right on you, it's like devastating. I mean, I'm gonna have to turn it on at some point, but I'm just kind of like delaying the inevitable. It's like you can have it one way or the other. You can die of heat, or you can like have direct air conditioning on you. In this case, the cure is like worse than disease. So anyway, maybe I can fix the fan in a different position. So, Radusa, I thought you played a different line against the Benko. I mean, am I imagining that? It's weird. I don't remember you playing c takes b5, a6, knight c3. Is that my imagination, or is my memory gone again? Because I don't remember having completely lost position against Renard Anderson. Though it's possible. I have forgotten other games. That was like a horrifying experience. I mean, I remember almost getting killed by Michael Doherty at the World Senior last year and hanging on by my teeth. That's the kind of game you remember, especially a long game like that, where you almost lost but you didn't, and you drew. I would think I would remember that game. I remember that tournament too. But it's a little tricky because I played the National Open. I played the National Open like 2 times close together. So I played it in National Open in 2002, and then after I moved to Hungary, I think I went back and I played it in 2004 or 2005. I don't remember. There were 2004, I'm pretty sure. There were 2 National Opens around the same time. But anyway, do I misremember Redusa playing a different line? You always play this line. Yeah, okay, so you beat me one game. I remember. I don't normally play the Benko, but I also played this line for many years with White, and I recommend not playing it because it's not good enough for White. I had to quit playing it for White because it has serious problems. But you're right. No, maybe it's playable the way you play it, right? You did the Koltanowski move. Okay. So the traditional way of playing it is in trouble with e4. This has a problem after b4, knight b5, and d6. It's not good enough. And traditionally that was the key try. So this is computer. I really would love to know like where you would come up with this. Like the only person who played it apparently is like Ponomarev back in 2008 and 2009. This is like a variation that's pretty much never played. But you tricked me, I always thought it was nothing. It is still nothing, but it's like a different nothing. I thought it was a nice try. But I think there's a novelty here, like 94 or something. Just reveal all my secrets. This probably transposes. It is funny though. I mean, it's been played on Lichess, right? There's a ton of games. Well, everybody's using their computer on Lichess, right? But seriously, that's how popular this line is for White in master level chess. There's 0 games where that one's been played. All right, let's see. So I have a game. Oddly, okay, this is even weirder now. I don't have a game with you. Oh, we're on black. I'm sorry, we're on black. Oh, that's funny. I beat Sasha Gelman. I had a very bad match against him. This is one of the only games where I beat him. All right, with black, yeah. So you twice. Dweep. Whatever happened to Dweep? That's interesting. Anyway, maybe you are Dweep. Dweep's new version. Knight e4 is best. We play queen a5 check, same as the player in the game. You have to play knight c3. And now black has a number of moves. It's not clear which one is best. Against you, I blindly followed what the computer said with knight e4. Also, an earlier game, against the earlier you or someone, a couple people, and then queen c2 was played in all games. Knight takes c3, and then I lost that really bad game after bishop d2, queen a4, queen takes c3. Here, go to Masters, and there's this game. This is the weirdest thing, this Romanian guy. How is a Romanian guy named Henry Edward Tudor? I just want to know. Anyway, he's like a junior prodigy in Romania. But I mean, how a Romanian gets the name Henry Edward Tudor, it's like a joke or something. That was like the British royal family, right? Very strange. He's some star Romanian junior player. But anyway, knight a6 is best. This Bryakin game, a3, now bishop b7, f3, bishop takes d5, Bryakin played perfectly, e4, bishop b7. Apparently this is better. And black is like equal. But instead, your opponent played bishop b7 right away, which is the main move, but not as good. This is not as good. It's a slight inaccuracy. Knight e4 is better, right? Knight e4 is better. g6 is also untested. Here, here, and now here. Now I feel like we're transposing to a different variation or something. e4. The pawn is poisoned due to rook b1. Black plays e6. Now white plays knight f3. We transpose. E takes d5. E takes d5. And now knight takes d5. If black doesn't take the pawn, white has... Well, what is black going to do? Bishop d6. It's no good. You have to take the pawn. And this was first played in Turzo Carrick, 1997. My first year playing here in Hungary, probably before I arrived. I played Christian Carrick in my first IM Norm tournament. Bishop c4, queen e6 check, and black misses it. Yeah, so this is very specific knowledge that black needs to have here. But this line isn't best for black. It's already like a serious inaccuracy. But I mean, what a weird like offbeat line. Black needs to know this. So here, one thing you could do is play e6. I think I was looking at this. This is definitely playable for black. e6 right away. What are you going to do? You can play like e4 as a pawn sack. Very obscure games here. Very strange position. So that's an interesting try for black. And the move we looked at, knight e4, which transposes after e3, queen a5 check to our game. Knight d2, queen d2, or something very similar, right? Queen d2, g6. I looked at this too. With a very strong bishop coming to g7. Anyway, so there's a bunch of different tries, but this opponent goes down the worst line. Queen a5, knight c3, bishop b7, bishop d2. Dmitry has a game from 206. Queen b6, e4, e6, and now knight f3. So knight h3 is possible. Interesting idea to go here in some lines. It also leaves the queen open. I don't know how much difference that makes. That's the computer's suggestion. And this is normal. ED5, ED5, knight D5, and now bishop C4. So black to play. Knight B4 is going to get lit up by tactics. What we're really hoping for is that. But she played knight C7. So knight B4, I imagine it gets attacked really hard. Maybe queen B4. Let's check this out. Knight E5. Even castles is possible. Surprisingly, the best move for white is A3, which I never would have guessed, but simple. All right. A3, D5, bishop B5 check. All right. So black goes back. Big mistake. Supposed to play queen E6 check. You're up a pawn? No, you're not up a pawn. Knight E2. And then a crazy move. Oh my god. So this was played in 2020. Daniel Fernandez against whoever this guy is from. I think he's Serbian. Wow. This is a really weird line. Bishop takes E3. Queen takes C4. But black remains very dynamic with the bishop on B7. I would be scared, with white here. But if black doesn't know that, it looks like instantly she gets a bad position with knight C7. Now you play queen E2 check, which is okay. This is apparently even better. And what's the idea after D5? You have attacked at queen F3. And a clear advantage after that. That's not easy to see, though. Black has queen F6. You have to find bishop F4. It's like a computer move. This is hard to see, especially in a fast game. So, yeah. I mean, castling looks interesting. That's what I would do. Black has D5, but you're going to attack him on the E file. Or her. No, I would think, like, if you castled, she would play bishop E7. And if you check her, or if you pin her on the E file, she intends to block with a knight. I mean, that's black's plan when they go knight C7. But the problem is, black is positionally worse. You cannot answer this square. And ultimately it's a positional like void. Black is like strategically lost. Not lost, but in a terrible way, here. Because of the D5 square. Material is equal, there's imbalance, but ultimately, if black cannot play D5 and you keep that square dominated, black's pawn, just ends up like unable to advance along the D file. And white just has like frontal pressure here. There's no answer to that. It's a bad benko. You can easily keep your B2 pawn protected, however, or even rook B1 if you need to. Well, how does black deal with this? It's very unpleasant. So that's why knight C7 is not good enough. Besides the tactics with knight G5. Check. Not as good as castles, probably. Basically the same thing. Rook E1, bishop E7, castle, sorry. Queen E2, the same thing as rook E1, essentially. Knight E6, control of D5. And now you immediately go knight D5. Black takes, no compensation for the light squared bishop. Control of D5. Rook A4. This is just a fishing expedition, but there's no fish. A sensibly active looking move, but black has problems. The light squares, the bishop on D5, the D5 square, and the queenside, the passed A pawn. So now this, two bishops, yeah. She's likely to get a rook trap if she tries to swing it across. Does she have some tactics here with knight f4 though? Why? So you have tricks. Queen c2, attacking the rook. Black also has tricks though. This could get fun, you know, queen g6. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Queen c2, queen g6. What am I missing? Oh no. Bishop takes f7 check. Oh no. Oh no. A decoy sacrifice so that you draw the queen away from g6 and you win the rook on a4. Yeah. So she couldn't save herself with knight f4. That would have salvaged Black's position. Though this is no longer a threat because the bishop is hanging on e7. You play h4. You have a problem with h4, man. You need to stop playing h4. You just, what Roman did at a chess Olympiad with Walter Brown at the Olympics, he just glued his a6 pawn down to the board on a7 because he knew Walter was playing black the next round in the morning, and Walter came late every single round, causing a lot of stress for everyone. So Roman glued the pawn down the night before. So when Walter came in, the whole board like exploded, and all the pieces got knocked over, and he like had a heart attack. Well, not literally, but the point was to teach Walter a lesson about coming late, you know. But you need to glue your H pawn down because you're obsessed with playing this move. I mean, how does this move even make sense in this position? What is that? That's like it's some kind of fetish or something. Why are you playing h4 here? No, you're not allowed to play h4. Okay, no more h4. I would accept g3 as an answer because g3 controls the f4 square, but it also, you know, your white squares are safe and the bishop can come back to g2. h4 is just weird. No reason to play that move. I mean, centralize a rook. Play rook e1. This is extremely strange. Okay, h4. Can Black take it? I mean, I guess you had some kind of idea. There's some kind of trap. There is this. It seems like a weird moment to play bishop h4, but I think that Black has to. Well, I mean, to be fair, like, yeah, this again is a trap. Feels like you're playing for traps. But again, no obvious move. Just queen c2. I mean, okay, you could play this. Maybe this works. But I still don't see it. How does this work? Because she's knocking out this. It's funny, it doesn't look like your tactics work here. h4 is really random. Yeah, Black could have played bishop takes h4, oddly enough. This is Black's best move. No. h4 is the first bad move that White has played in this game. I like g3 better. The computer likes 95, rook e1, rook d1, g3, queen c2. This is fetish move. Stop doing it. Knight c6. And now bishop takes e6. No way I'm playing that move. This bishop is a huge piece. You're anchoring control of d5. You have a bishop versus a knight. I think that your last move was a serious mistake, and g3 was called for. After g3, you could just answer knight c6 with like rook to d1. with a huge advantage. These other moves are good too. This move freezes black. Pressure on f7. This is very bad. Knight c6. And now here, and now your advantage is slipping. You go from like clearly better to slightly better. Bishop e6, and then f e6. I was thinking maybe this way. F takes e6 is the kind of move that players who are too optimistic play. This is the I'm too optimistic and I need a beatdown move. F takes e6. Because my rook is open. And what? You're just weakening your king position on g8. The other way is safer. This is not such a bad pawn on c5. I think that black is fundamentally okay here. Yeah, you have like queen c2, but the rook comes over to g4. That's a huge hole, by the way, that you created by playing h4. It's a really bad move on every level. But black responds the wrong way. I don't think this is that big a deal. Black weakens their own position. Now rook d1. You know, how do you defend that now? The e6 pawn is weak. Can't play d5. So now black just hangs the d7 pawn. This is like hope chess or something. Don't defend d7. And now I figure black is going to do this. But it's not enough. It's not enough. I mean, you have just capture, and this exchange sack is just half-assed. She doesn't have enough compensation. So, sort of a weird game. I think that black is fine after d takes c6. But interestingly enough, the computer still thinks she's fine after f takes e6. Which I'm a little surprised by. I thought that white was slightly better now. But yeah, I mean, black just blundered d7 for what? For what? Impatient, you know, just to protect d7. I still don't like it though. You know, I would 100% play this way. Here, black has no liabilities. The c5 pawn, it's like protected by 3 things. I mean, it's so solid. What can white do? Nothing. It's a draw, probably. This is almost certainly a draw. F e6 is risky. Why do that? You know, here. And she couldn't find this. This is actually a cool idea. You know, maybe almost this sort of exchange sack might work in the future. Or rook g4 and here. But this is crazy. Hanging the d7 pawn, like hope chess. Bishop takes d4. Bishop takes h4. What? Yeah, that's insane. Okay. So black just like dropped all their pieces. Okay, that's done. Now, do we have any other games that have been submitted by the subscribers to the stream? Have any other subscribers to the stream submitted a game? Because if not, well, regardless, let's do the real game I put in. Okay, this is a great game. This is our master lesson game of the stream. This is my submission to the stream, which is a really nice game. This was Botvinnik against Fischer, and it was played in 1962. And little bit of a backstory to this game. This game is in my 60 Memorable Games by Bobby Fischer. But although I analyzed all the games and I read the whole book, it was a long time ago, and this game was a little fuzzy for me. I studied that book in the 90s, and I haven't really gone back to it. So I literally analyzed this game like 30 years ago on my test chessboard, you know, at home at some point, maybe more, you know, maybe it was the 80s. I got Fischer's 60 Memorable Games around 1987. So I probably analyzed all of the games in that book, approximately 87, 88, and I haven't returned to many of them, a few of them. But the backstory to this game is that it was played in the Olympics in 1962, and Fischer was still young. He didn't become world champion until 10 years later in 1972. This was 1962. So Fischer was young. He was playing board one for the U.S. team. I'm going to assume that, board two would be like Robert Byrne, and then maybe like Lombardi or something, and Reshevsky. Maybe Reshevsky board two. I would think the U.S. team would have been something like Fischer, Reshevsky, Lombardi, Benko. Actually, Benko was already there by 62. I think. I'm pretty sure. He should have left at 56. Benko should have been playing for the U.S. by 62, but he wasn't as strong as the others. He wasn't as strong as Reshevsky or even Lombardi. So I think that's your team right there. Unless Lombardi, I don't think Lombardi had quit yet. So yeah. Fischer playing board one. Reshevsky, Robert Byrne, Lombardi, and Benko. Maybe, yeah. I don't know when. Yeah, later Kavalek would play. All right. Anyway, so it's Soviet Union versus the USA. Botvinnik with white against Fischer on board one. This was played in Bulgaria in Varna. And for me, the interesting thing is Fischer playing black against Botvinnik, and the opening is a Grunfeld. So Botvinnik opens with c4, by the way. And earlier in the stream, we saw Sung Prism play knight f3, knight f6, but you can't play g6 against knight f3 unless, you're prepared to face e4. Fischer would not play g6 against knight f3. But against c4, you can play g6. Fischer's not afraid. He's not afraid of d4. He can transpose to a King's Indian. So, he's not afraid to transpose to a King's Indian if Botvinnik wants. Botvinnik goes d4 right away. Fischer plays knight f6. Botvinnik plays knight c3. And then Bobby could play a King's Indian or a Grunfeld, or even the Benoni. He probably could play the Nimzo too, but Botvinnik, maybe that's the opening he understands the most. So I think that Fischer wants to play something sharper against the super strong strategic Botvinnik, not a Nimzo. So he goes for a Kingside Fianchetto and then plays the Grunfeld. An interesting fact now, Botvinnik would write the first great book on the Grunfeld, at least in English. A complete, treatment of the entire Grunfeld defense, which I got back in the 80s also. The book was published by RHM Press at some point in the late 70s. The pages were falling out of my book because it was poorly bound. This publishing house, RHM Press, that wrote a lot of chess books, or they published a lot of chess books, they published great books, but they were notorious for bad bindings. And so the glue would dry out and chunks of the book would fall apart. I still have the books. They're falling into chunks. They need to be rebound. But anyway, so Botvinnik is an expert on the Grunfeld. But interesting fact, Botvinnik is an expert on the Grunfeld with both colors, but he very rarely played the Grunfeld. I researched this, and Botvinnik didn't play the Grunfeld that often. Here and there, sometimes. He lost 2 games to Petrosian in 1963. A year after this, Botvinnik lost the World Championship match to Petrosian. Most of the games were drawn. There were only 3 decisive games in the whole match or something. I don't know. I don't know how many. Petrosian lost 1 and Botvinnik lost 2. I don't know. It wasn't many. I'm not sure exactly. But I know for a fact that Botvinnik lost 2 Grunfelds. Basically, he lost the World Championship to Petrosian in the Grunfeld, losing 2 games. Man, in one game, Petrosian really kicked his ass very badly in a sharp Russian variation. But anyway, So that's the background. And Fischer playing Grunfeld and King's Indian. For those of you that don't read books, it's important to know a little bit about chess history because we can learn how chess evolved or how theory evolved, how the theory of the game evolved. Bobby Fischer famously, and this is well publicized, he learned openings. He got his openings from buying like old Russian magazines and books in like a used bookstore in New York City. So Fischer effectively took these old Russian magazines like Shakhmat TV, USSR, and other things like 64, and he analyzed all the Soviets' games that were published in Russian. He couldn't read Russian, but he could read the notation. So he studied all the games, and that's why he played the King's Indian in the Grunfeld. So Fischer was studying all the Russians' theory in the Grunfeld King's Indian, and that's why he plays their own openings against them, basically. So Fischer here plays. Smyslov was developing this opening a lot for black. Knight f3, bishop g7, and queen b3. This is the Russian variation. And this is main line in the 50s. One of the main lines in the 50s and 60s. And it's still played and still considered a main line today. And even in the 80s, in 86, it was played a couple of important games between Karpov and Kasparov. Karpov played many different things against the Grunfeld to keep Kasparov off balance. And this is one of like 4 different opening systems that Karpov used against Kasparov. But we have to remember, Kasparov was a student of Botvinnik from his school, you know. So it's no wonder that Kasparov played the Grunfeld. Fischer playing the Grunfeld against Botvinnik. White plays queen b3. Now, if you play the Slav, you have a bad passive position. You have to take. And now you give up the center, and white has the queen in an exposed position on c4. That's the whole game. So what's the theory of the Grunfeld? You're allowing white to establish a center, but you counter-attack. It's very sharp. While our justification is white's king is in the center, we're getting castled. White's queen is exposed down on c4. Castles, and now e4, main line. And now black in the Grunfeld wants to play c5 to counterattack the center. But can you do that here? Well, interestingly, it's been played in a couple of games, notably this one, Portish Adorian, 1982. So crazy Andras Adorian was a huge believer in the Grunfeld and developed a lot of stuff. He died 2 years ago, or maybe 3 now, I guess, or even more. I had the weird experience of talking to him on the phone once. But anyway, c5 is a little too much, so we need to prepare it. Kasparov likes knight a6. This is the Hungarian variation. Joseph Pinter, a friend of mine, did a lot to develop this. There's also knight c6, Baron variation. But Bobby plays Smyslov's main line, bishop g4, which is out of fashion today. This is out of fashion today because the other moves are considered slightly better. a6 and knight a6. And there's even this, I think there's even this weird line with bishop e6. This is the latest. Spidler and these guys are using Stockfish, since when? 2012? Whenever Stockfish started existing. I guess around 2012, Yakovenko Spidler. Well, anyway, bishop e6 is a very provocative move. But I think without c5, we can't, really destroy white's center. Maybe not without the pawn to attack the center. Bishop e6 is interesting. Provoking d5. Anyway, that's another story. Fischer plays bishop g4. White can play knight e5. That's interesting. We just come back to e6. Provoke d5. Chancellor Ivanchuk, 2001, whatever. It's equal. So Botvinnik doesn't play that. He knows that's nothing. Now he plays hesitantly, though. I don't know at that time. This is the sharpest move. Not reacting, but reinforcing d4. Botvinnik plays safe, bishop e2. Black now does this. You can also play knight c6, but this is considered best. Knight goes to b6. Bishop opens up the diagonal. Sorry, let's go back. Things get interesting later, right? Main move is like rook d1, reinforcing d4. White doesn't do that. This is 1962. Botvinnik was probably aware of this. By the way, castling queenside, extremely dangerous, but playable. Look at the games. Aronian, Morozevich, Lautier, Tomaszewski. But basically, castling queenside is a very dangerous thing. Smyslov beat Botvinnik in the 1963 World Championship in a similar way. But I think in that game it was a little bit different. It was more justified somehow. White instead plays safe, bishop e2, knight c6 now. This is also a move. Here, and then knight b6, and now critical position. This is passive. So this is probably best. And now Bobby plays the best move. And I think this was known. I think that Smyslov had already analyzed this. But I don't know how much further have this position ever been played at that time in 1962. The games aren't in here. You can see this position was played in the 86 World Championship between Karpov and Kasparov twice. Karpov scoring 1.5 out of 2. But there's an interesting move that has never been tried here. Am I confusing the position? Queen d6. I just want to check something. Is this playable? Oh, I'm crazy. Okay. Is this playable? The knight's on c6. I was thinking of a different position. Okay, we'll check that out later. Whatever. Okay, so queen d6. Yeah, queen a5. Is that playable? I'm crazy. All right. Sorry. So what can white do? You can play... Can you avoid the exchange of queens? No. If you go here, I just take on f3 and take on d4. You can't avoid the exchange of queens. So what does Botvinnik do? I mean, I assume this position was reached before. We don't see any games before 1986 in the database. But no, there is one. Okay. So Saltzman against Ron Henley from 1983. This is probably an international in New York run by Bill Goichberg before I started playing chess in 1983. But I'm going to guess that there's older games than that. And unfortunately, Lichess doesn't have a very thorough database for the period between 1950 and 1980. There are a lot of important games that are missing in here. I find it very hard to believe this position was first played in Saltzman Henley 1983. Lichess acts as if like chess didn't start until 1980, like it's some kind of ancient times, like Homer's The Odyssey or something. I started playing chess in 1983. I can assure you, chess had been played a lot on a very high level before 1983. And I was just getting started. So it's sad that they don't make the database a little bit better here. So we know exactly when this was first played. But Botvinnik's h3, it's a little bit slow. It's surprising that it's the only time it's been played, though. One game in Norway in 1988. Yes, this is not really a critical move, but it's also not that bad. But here's an interesting move. E5. I have a question. Is anybody still out there? No, serious question. If anybody had to compare this to another opening for black, what would you say it's most similar to? Mr. Rolandson, since you're here. Chess Ibra, since you're here. If you have to compare this opening, it's a Grunfeld, Russian variations. But after e5, if you compare this to another opening, what would you say it's most similar to? Easy question. What defense is this most similar to now? The answer is go Norway. Are they still in the World Cup? No. I mean, King's Indian, okay. I'll take that as like a credible answer. But the answer is actually trickier than that. The King's Indian and Grunfeld are well-known relatives. But I think, and therefore I know, that it's closest to the Alekhines defense because of this pawn on e5 and the fact that the knight has journeyed, over here to b6. It's very similar to Alekhines defense. White has a space advantage after e5. And then, like, if you take on f3 at some point, there'll be a moment where we take on f3, and this happens in Alekhines defense too. This bishop is like, oh, well, which way do I go? Because it's like kind of torn between recapturing on f3 and controlling the c4 square. So it doesn't know what to do. It's like overloaded. Yeah, so the hyper modern, feel of the opening is just like an Alekhine. You could also say some other openings like Queen's Gambit Accepted, where white plays e5. That's also similar. But anyways, Botvinnik doesn't like e5. It's too committal. d5 is also a move. But Botvinnik wants to keep the tension, so he plays h3. Black takes. But the thing I was shocked by here is the fact that this game is really no mistakes. It was played between Botvinnik and Fischer, and there's only one game from Norway, 1988, where the position was repeated. Like, how is that possible? Neither side made a real mistake. These are legendary players, and there's only one game where it was repeated. But Bobby played the best move here, whereas Norwegian guy just was like passive. So Norwegian guy is passive, plays this, and then other Norwegian guy trades on d6 and has a slight advantage. Bobby's not going to do that, right? So he plays the best move. Rook f d8, putting pressure on the center. That's what we're trying to do. Not retreat our pieces like Norwegian guy. And now he forces Botvinnik to make a concession. So eventually Botvinnik accedes to this, d5, and this is where it gets really weird. This is where the game gets interesting now. And I don't remember Fischer's annotations in My 16 Memorable, but you should go back and check or buy the book, because my book's with Mr. Coffee in Pennsylvania. Fischer now plays knight e5, and here's the critical moment. The position is like approximately equal, but white has to decide what to play now. Should he play? I mean, honestly, I think if Botvinnik wanted to be super safe, he probably could trade queens. What's the evaluation? It's like 0. The thing is, if you trade queens, I mean, black could take with a rook, but he'll probably take with a c-pawn toward the center. And I think the position is probably about equal. White has to be a little bit careful of the c-file here. Basically, if Botvinnik trades queens, he slightly increases black's control of the center. So there's a plus side to that, though. If you did this, and white, traded and black took, you could no longer undermine this pawn on d5 so easily. Like e6, maybe. So that's the safest move for white. And the most interesting move for white is f4. which Botvinnik didn't play because of something like, I guess, this. But this is the variation I looked at. Always put pressure on the center. Well, that's the idea, right? If knight c4, check this out. e5, queen takes c5, bishop takes c5, knight takes b2, rook d2, knight c4, rook d4, and now knight a5, bishop takes e7. White is not worse here. He has the two bishops. He has a very, very strong center. You know? Black just traded his e7 pawn for the pawn on b2. I don't think that's a good exchange. So I think that Botvinnik's better now. Yeah, I mean, it's slightly better for white. Oh, shit. You have to find knight c6. This is the only move. Bobby would have found it, of course. Beautiful move. And then bishop takes d8, knight takes d4, bishop takes c7. Oh, my God. And black only hangs on. This is still so scary. Only white can possibly win here. Bishop h6, picking off the f4 pawn. Oh my God. Rook g1, this is the computer variation. Rook g4, and then g5. Oh my God. h4, h6. Crazy. Bobby would have just been hanging on. Anyways, that's if white played f4. But instead Botvinnik plays knight b5. And here he must have assumed. This is such a great game. Botvinnik did not include this in his 100 selected games as far as I remember. I don't think so. I mean, I don't think that all of the selected games are Botvinnik wins necessarily, but I don't remember this game being in there. I could be wrong. I have to double check. But you know, he kind of has to assume that Fischer would play queen takes c5, bishop takes c5, and rook d7, defending the pawns. I would assume that anybody would play that, not just Fischer, anybody, you know. And now you have the c4 square. So now, if I was Botvinnik, I would expect this to happen. You can play any number of moves like b3, and now Bobby will undermine the center with c6, and the game is about equal. That's what Botvinnik's probably thinking, and he's probably right. Like, that's the best line. But Bobby plays something else. He plays queen f6, which is actually a mistake. I mean, if you're a computer, this is a mistake. But what do you think is going on here? It's the Olympiad, it's board one, it's young Bobby Fischer playing the world champion, the legendary Mikhail Botvinnik, master of strategy. So if you're playing the master of strategy, do you want to go into an endgame, or do you want to keep the queens on the board and try to keep it complicated? So Fischer tries to keep it complicated. He wants to keep the queens on. Botvinnik's king is in the center, and you're threatening knight f3 check. The next move is obvious. White has to play f4. And now the point, he can retreat his knight back to d7, hitting Botvinnik's queen and attacking b2. So the position is very complicated now. And Botvinnik misjudges this position. He should have just retreated his queen with like queen c2 or queen c1. And I think after this, white is still slightly better. But for whatever reason, Botvinnik kind of forces things, and he plays e5. And this isn't quite as good now. His center gets a bit overextended. And so he goes a little bit too far. Queen takes f4. Great move. Not in the least because the whole strategy of the Grunfeld defense is to undermine the white center after luring it forward. He knocks out the f4 pawn. Queen takes f4. Bishop takes f4, knight takes c5. Okay, right? But look at these pawns now. Without the f pawn, suddenly e5 is a lot more vulnerable. d5 is double attacked. White plays knight takes c7, getting his pawn back. It's 6-6. And then rook c8. And now Botvinnik has to play d6, otherwise he loses d5. So d6, but an epic game. Look at the two bishops for white. And apparently very strong pass pawn on d6. But remember that Botvinnik's king is still in the center. His rook is out of play on h1. So it's still close. E takes d6, e takes d6. And now Bobby, what's he going to do? He has to watch b4. This pawn has to be blockaded. And so he could play knight a4 apparently, but he grabs the pawn. Bishop takes b2. It seems greedy, but it's principled. And Fischer was very principled about taking material. Castles. Now black blockades, getting out of the way of his b pawn. Knight bd7. And here Botvinnik blunders. But it's a very subtle sort of blunder. No, sorry, next move. No, there's no blunder yet. Okay, what would you guys play here? What would you guys play here? What would I play here? What would everybody play here? He doesn't blunder yet. Botvinnik blunders on the next move. Thanks for subscribing. But what would most people play? They would play knight d5. Threatening a big forky fork on e7, right? Why didn't Botvinnik do this? Well, the answer is simple. It's a one-move threat. It's hope chess. You know, Botvinnik doesn't play hope chess. Fischer's going to see knight e7 check. So you just go here. Or maybe you just move your king, you know. It's a stupid one-move threat. But what's surprising is the move that Botvinnik played. Check out what he played here. Botvinnik plays like the best move of the game and then the worst move of the game back to back. One of the worst moves of the game. He plays rook d5, which is brilliant because it's counterintuitive, right? You're expecting that knight to come to d5. Instead, he puts the rook on d5 like a rock. But, you know, this is strong because it enables him to go boom, you know, and double down on the power on the d file. And Botvinnik was really big on fundamental control of the center. But what he ends up doing is very good. By playing rook d5, he got Fischer to weaken his queen side. It looks almost insignificant, but the knights are redundant. So this is such a natural move to play for Bobby, especially as a younger player in 62, 10 years still to become world champion. But the subtle problem is that, well, we played the Smyslov variation of the Grunfelder. We traded our bishop on f3. And just in this moment where Botvinnik is slightly better, he makes like a terrible mistake. The best move for white, you know, Botvinnik probably would have found on a good day. I don't know how his time was. It's move 24 in a 40 move time control, I assume. But the problem, I think, is that Botvinnik, I'm going to say he underestimated this. He underestimated 96. Because in the back of our minds, we're strategic players and we're thinking like, Fischer's not going to do that. That would allow me to damage his pawn structure. You know, 96 is an ugly move because 96 pawn e6 and you have this like isolated pawn on e6. But Fischer is almost paralyzed here because of this knight on c7. So if Botvinnik had just sidestepped this by playing bishop h2, for example, or maybe bishop g3, but I think this is best because it's out of the way, then this is no big deal. because it's only attacking the knight, not attacking the bishop on f4. So had Botvinnik found bishop h2, white has like bishop a6 here, and he's all over him. Like white is much better after this. Fischer's in serious trouble, even though he's a pawn up. He's like paralyzed. White has, it's ironic, right? Like 4 isolated pawns. But his bishops are so good, and the passed pawn is so strong on d6. And the knight is outposted on the 7th rank on c7. And a7 is weak, and the light squares have been weakened. So this is the miracle for Fischer. He plays b6, and Botvinnik blunders bishop f3, allowing this. And the whole position, like, is a disaster for white now. This is the pivotal moment in the game. But what if Botvinnik doesn't take? What if Botvinnik doesn't take on? Here's a serious question. What if Botvinnik doesn't take on e6? Why does he have to take on e6? Why can't he just keep the tension here? Serious question. Is there a serious problem? Serious questions, is there serious problems? So let's say bishop g3. All right. What's the problem? Well, he can reinforce, for example, or he could go like maybe here. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Let's take a look with the engine. In fact, knight f6 is okay. It's about equal. Knight c5 is slightly better for white after white just doubles down. Significantly better for white. So this move, what does this move do? Dark square madness. Would Botvinnik be forced to play? Wow, there's some weird stuff going on, but is he forced to go like d1? Bishop d1 is really bad because of knight f6. The rook is practically trapped. Oh my god. This is ugly. He traps Botvinnik's rook on d5. Well, that's the danger of putting a rook on d5 for sure. So, anyway, Botvinnik has to trade now, and then we reach this endgame. It's now like an endgame. Okay, beginning the endgame stage. Rook d3, knight c5, and rook e3. So again, pawn, 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 pawn. Pawn, 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 pawn. Botvinnik's structure doesn't look too good. This is not what was supposed to happen. And now Bobby just plays e5. And there goes the bishop pair. Bishop takes e5, bishop takes e5, rook takes e5, and rook takes d6. And I think, like, honestly, if Botvinnik's structure wasn't ruptured, you know, if his like pawn was on g3 instead of h3, maybe white can draw this. Bishop versus knight is good for the bishop. There's pawns on both sides of the board, which is good for the bishop. But I mean, seriously, the dude has 3 isolated pawns. That's not great. But the good news is that Botvinnik's pawns are, well, everybody has rook pawns. Hey, rook pawns. Rook pawns, here's the secret. Rook pawns suck. So, you heard it here first. Wow, Gypsy999 with a $20 donation. Keep up the good work for the world senior. Thank you, Gypsy999. You're just Gypsy999 there, but you're Gypsy9999. So make up your mind. How many nines? Confuse me. Rook pawns suck. And bishops like pawns on both sides, and bishops are better than knights on an open board, but the Dorfman principle applies here. Rook and bishop is better than rook and knight. First of all, Botvinnik doesn't want to trade pieces down a pawn, necessarily. But he definitely wants to keep one rook on the board, because rook and bishop work together better than rook and knight. It's hard to coordinate rook and knight. Rook e7 on the 7th rank, and then Fischer goes rook d7, just like our first game, Sun Prism, against Black Knight. Rook d7, knight d7, bishop g4, rook c7. Now, if you trade here, you're probably lost. If Botvinnik were to trade, bishop takes knight, I don't know. I don't like those isolated pawns in a pure rook endgame. So he's right to keep the rook and bishop combo on the board. Plays rook e1, starting to penetrate. Black plays king f7, king g2, improving his king. Knight c5 now, which is a good move, but it blocks the rook. Remember. And now rook e3, anticipating the following move, rook e7. And now a great move, rook f3 check. Suddenly, Fischer, I guess, was concerned about which way to go with his king. But I don't know. I think I would have to spend some time on this move. Because to me, it looks like you would play king e8. Then maybe improve the rook. But I think that we're looking at stuff that's very complex. Like, let's say I play king e8 and white goes here. And now he's threatening here and here. What do I do? How do you prevent the white rook from getting in? Is the question. It's not so simple. So I think that's Fischer's problem. He was worried about rook f6. So he went here. King stays cut off, right? Not optimal. Rook c3. This is kind of a weird move, but it pins the knight. I'm not sure about this move, actually. White could play something else. Maybe rook f4. Let's see what the engine says. Well, there is a problem, h5. We're about to lose a piece. Oddly enough, if it was black to move, it's very funny. Just imagine, h5, bishop c8, rook c7, gone. You lost a piece. So he has to move something to free that bishop. I mean, you could theoretically play like h4. I actually like the idea of trading that pawn off. But I think in this particular position with rook e4, it's not a good idea. Here, and now rook e4, and now bishop d1, rook d4, bishop c2. So I guess this is like the defensive setup that Botvinnik envisioned against his knight on c5. His bishop also attacks these pawns. If he can trade his pawns off with like a5, h4, h5, he can sacrifice his... Think about this. You can sacrifice your bishop with the last pawn. If you can trade 3 pawns for pawns, then you can sack your bishop with the last pawn and draw with rook against rook and knight. It's a theoretical draw. It's Botvinnik. You know, he knows how to play endgames. Now Fischer plays king f6. White plays king f3. And now Bobby made a weird move. You know, honestly, this is pretty weird. I have no idea what black's best move is. Like, according to the engine or whatever. I would think like maybe h6. I want to get my pawns off of, let's see what the engine says. I'm going to get my pawns off of light squares. Let's see, h6. It's okay, but it's nothing special according to the engine. I mean, it's true, like the pawns actually do kind of block his bishop, and it's hard for him to get in behind. So maybe they don't have to move, okay. But anyway, how does black make progress? His king is to like protect these pawns. King g5, weird move. He's like decentralizing his own king. King g3, keeping the king out of h4, although I don't know, you really want to put it there. And now, Bobby plays an obvious move that it looks like the right move. Check. It's counterintuitive. The knight looks like a beast, but how are you making progress? Yeah, it is a beast from like a defensive standpoint, but you need to make progress. Check. Takes. He forced white to trade bishop and rook combo, which is good. Rooking games are always drawn, yeah, except when you have a pawn down and a bad structure. Botvinnik is this close to losing, but here he misses the move that saves the game. This is really crazy. Two of the best players in history, they made the time control, and I can only speculate what happened here. Why did Botvinnik not play rook c7? You know, that's the $1 million question. And probably Fischer talks about it in 60 Memorable. But again, I don't remember. I like analyzing games on my own. But check this line out. If rook c7, rook a4. And now, I would have assumed, and Botvinnik probably assumed, that he's lost. Because rook takes h7, rook takes a2, and black has these scary connected passed pawns. Usually connected passed pawns win. But there's this funny problem here with this particular position, h4 check, king. Maybe we should look at king f6. Though I don't think it makes a big difference. King f5, rook f7 check, king e6, rook g7, king f6, and then here. This is really weird. So you freeze both of these pawns, but at the same time, your king is stuck protecting the other pawn on the other side. So it's like Fischer, even though he has two connected passed pawns, he can't advance them. And the only way you could try to advance them would be to put the rook on a5, like here, at some point. The line I looked at was this, I think, but that doesn't do anything. You know, you just go back, and you're going to have to go back to protect it. So the only way is there, and then the point is like whatever, f4, and if you play b5, okay, fine, what are you going to do? King g4. And if you go a6, it's like check, duh. And now this is a problem. And now white is actually making progress. So it's like messed up. White can't make progress. He can't advance his pawns. And this goes back to the whole Grunfeld thing. John Watson talks about the queenside majority in his book on chess strategy. I forget what it's called. Makes the point about the queenside majority is overrated in the Grunfeld. Botvinnik had the central majority, got a passed pawn, had to sacrifice it, lost it, and he's still not losing. Because this queenside majority is like frozen. But he has a draw there, but he misses it, right? So he plays this. Why now? Is this better than rook c7? Well, the question is, right? Why did Bobby not play a5? And the answer to me is obvious, you know. Fischer didn't like the look of a5 rook b3. he was just like, oh, well, he's young. It's 1962. He's like, okay, rook e7 is safe, and I'm probably winning somehow. I just need, It turns out that this is the only winning move in this position. If you analyze it really deeply with Stockfish or an engine, it's even hard to say definitively because this is it's too many pieces for a table base. This is 11 pieces. It's not table base. But you can tell. I mean, the engine is like +2 for black here. I can't say for sure. Okay. I think like 90% chance black is winning here if we use an engine to analyze for days and nights. But the point was, what do you do on rook b3? Because this is back to drawville. This is the winning move, rook b4. And then, maybe Fischer saw it and he was just like, well, it's complicated. I don't want to calculate a king and pawning game. You have to calculate all the way through. And this like extra tempo with b5 is decisive. But he had to make sure. And then so without playing a5, it ends up being a draw. Rook a3, rook e7, and now Botvinnik saves the game. Rook f3, cutting off the king. Rook c7, a4, rook c5, and now boom, there it is. Same thing. It's the same thing as before. Rook a5, rook takes h7, rook takes a4, h4 check, king f5, rook f7 check, king e5, rook g7, king f6. I'm sorry, Fischer didn't play king f6, he played this trick instead. Threatening rook g1 check. But it's just a cheapo. It doesn't matter. Botvinnik just steps aside, king f3, threatening to take the pawn, and then the h pawn is very fast. I mean, I don't know. What would happen if Bobby started... What would happen? I didn't look at this, but what would happen if Bobby tried to launch his pawns now? Let's take a look while we've got time. What if Fischer starts racing his pawns? He just doesn't defend g6. So I guess b5. That's got to be a try, right? No, that's the game. Shit, that's the game, right? Oh man, yeah, he must have missed this or something. He missed h5. Fuck. Yeah, b5 rook takes g6 loses. No, Fischer just, yeah. Maybe he just missed that. He assumes this and he's like winning with b4. But assume nothing, right? Well, here's another question. How about a5? It doesn't matter. Shit. There would be a try, though. Let's say we play a5. Now, Botvinnik takes, but you don't play b5 because it drops the pawn to rook g5 check. But you play rook b1 instead. How much time does it take for these pawns to get down? Guess who's queening with check? Oh no. Botvinnik's queening with check with our king on e5. It's a draw. So anyway, I suspect that probably, I don't know, it's a draw. At this point, it's a draw. No matter what white and black did. I mean, no matter what black did. No matter what he tried, it would be a draw. King f3, b5, h5 exclamation point. And now check, king back. And I thought he would go to e2, but it doesn't matter. King g2, g takes h5, and now, of course, we understand why he went to g2. It ends up being important. Looks passive. Guess what? It's on purpose because he's staying here to stop the h-pawn. Check. King d6. I don't know where it should go. Rook takes b5. Guess what? h4, f4. That guy launches. Space x. f4, king c6, rook b8, h3 check, king h2. So that's why the king is over there, stopping that guy. And then a5. And you know, there are some rook in games where both rook pawns versus nothing are a draw. Because in some instances, you know, the funny thing about rook pawns is you can't hide on the other side of the pawn, Jess Zebra. That's the problem with rook pawns. Really, to simplify it, why are rook pawns inferior? There is no other side of the rook pawn. So you get checked, you can't hide on the other side of the rook pawn because you're off the board. And ultimately, in this type of situation, if your pawn moves up, you know, the king is going to have nowhere to hide in front of his own pawn. The rook's already... This rook is in a bad position, by the way. You don't want your rook in front of your... The worst position for a rook is in front of a rook pawn. Let's just put it that way. f5, king c7, rook b5, defending and attacking this pawn. King d6, f6, obviously king e6, rook b6, check, king f7. So everybody's blockaded except for Mr. A pawn. And now he's stuck with a stupid rook in front of him. So everybody's stuck. King g6, rook c6. White can also draw by moving the king here with king g1 or king h1. Ends up happening anyway because rook c6, a4, rook a6, black plays king f7, rook c6, and now rook d3, rook a6, and then a3. So Fischer was able to improve his rook to the side of the pawn rather than in front. It's still not enough. And now white has to move the king. He can't lose this pawn. If he loses f6, he loses. You can't lose this pawn now. Black's pawns are too far down. You have to hold on to f6. So now he moves his king, h1 or g1, king g1, check, king h2. And now rook d3 is repetition. So Fischer sacks the pawn, king check, king takes h3, and now a2. But it doesn't matter because our rook's behind the pawn. So we're going to win f6 next move. Nothing that we can do. a2. I would assume like king g4. And now we should just make a draw. h1, rook takes, king takes f6, draw. So it was like a really good game. King g1 draw, sorry. I thought they played these last moves. I'm not sure if it was a draw after 68 or if it was there's 3 more moves. I'm not sure if I added that in. Dr. Robotnik. No, but a great game. I mean, there's so much there. And that's like my analysis without even like tapping into, you know, Fischer gave notes by himself and Botvinnik in 60 Memorable Games. Again, I don't think this game was analyzed in 100 selected games. Those games were, well, I mean, maybe around this time. I'm not sure how late Botvinnik's games and 60 Memorable Games go. I don't remember. I mean, I think he retired from serious tournament play pretty much mostly after losing the World Championship. He later became a trainer and he was also like a scientist, so he did a lot of stuff, but he didn't play a lot. He would go on to lose the World Championship the next year in 1963 to Petrosian, though that was very close, mostly draws. Anyway, thanks guys for tuning in. I'll see you when I see you. See you tomorrow. We're gonna try to have like a blitz stream for a few hours at noon Central European Summertime. Between noon and 1, I normally do Friday streams. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks for your donation. Or donations. Donation, do I hear 400? Donations. Chess Zebra resubscribing, thank you. Move 11 gifting sub. Shebers Peeler stopped by. Miro BTW, just saw you. Nice to see you. and Gypsy with a nice donation. Thank you guys, and I enjoyed it. Bye-bye. Hey, everybody. Sorry I lost the game yesterday. I was really pissed. I threw everything, broke all the stuff in Stachi's office. Bye-bye.